Let's go ahead and talk about it then. I have been seeing so many people in the community talk about Need for Speed Heat being dead, being boring. They've already given up on the game. We're going to talk about all of that in this video because I have a lot to say about this. I have put a lot of hours into Need for Speed Heat. Let me actually check Origin really quick. I've actually got it up here. Right. Okay, Google. What is 162 hours into days?
162 hours equals 6.75 days.
Bombaclat. Wow, I wasn't expecting it to be 7. So obviously I played a lot more hours than someone normally. I'm a Need for Speed content curator. It's what I do for a living. So of course, this is gonna happen. The average Joe probably maybe put like 40 hours. Okay, Google. What is 40 hours into days?
40 hours equal 1.667 days.
That's more what I'd expect for someone who has a job, is at uni, is at school, and just plays this, you know, when in their downtime, when they're in free time. That's the amount of game time that I'd expect a normal person to have. But it didn't take me 7 days to get bored of this game. It took me 1, and I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. Now, I just want to quickly say, the game isn't dead. Dead and boring are two completely different things. It's still a new game. Christmas is coming around. 25th is Christmas Day. New people as well, are going to get involved into the game. They're going to start playing, etc., etc. I don't think that the game is dead, but there is a huge lack of content, and that is what we're going to talk about today. And oh my god, we're going to rant a little bit about Update 1, because I still can't believe that we're going into 2020 and we have not seen one update with Need for Speed Heat. Oh, don't worry, I'm going to rant about this. I'm also going to rant about how poorly the actual community has been dealt with since launch. I'd argue that in terms of how the game has been handled, not only in live service, but with transparency from the studio, this has been the worst since Rivals. In 2015, it was impeccable. It was so good in 2015. If I could go back and just get that, like, side of the community and the updates from 2015 and bring it over to current day, I would. Even in Payback, at least we knew what was going on. At least they talked about upcoming problems and issues that were being solved and fixed and looked at and were acknowledged. In Heat, it has been complete radio silence, and we're going to kind of talk about all those things in this video because I can completely understand why you would be bored of Need for Speed Heat. I guess the first point we're going to tackle out of those 3, I think it was, we're going to talk about the community and the transparency. This has been one of the worst, like, launches for that kind of angle, as far as I can remember, really. It's been complete radio silence from Ghost. I talked about this a little bit in my S14 video I made. It's just been complete radio silence. I don't feel like there's been any, conversation between the community and Ghost as a development team. I don't feel like a lot of the issues that we've been talking about have been acknowledged. For example, the manual bindings is one I can think of off the top of my head. I still don't even know if Ghost are aware of that. There's no roadmap, so we don't know what's happening with the live service. Instead, they are on Twitter posting these infographics telling us people are playing your game. Very nice, very cool, but like, are you posting that for the community or for stockholders? Because that's not something I'm really personally interested in. I'm not really interested that the most top 3 cars that are customized in the game are starter cars. For anyone that doesn't play Need for Speed, they're going to look at that and think, oh, that's cool. For anyone that does play Need for Speed, they're going to look at it and think, well, aren't those just the starter cars? Radio silence is honestly the worst thing you could do in this situation. And I'm going to use Forza as an example because for Forza Horizon 4 and Forza Motorsport 7, the community management and the way they're transparent with their, player base, it is impeccable. I'm not going to sit here and say no one comes close because I'm sure someone does come close, in the gaming scene. But as far as arcade races go, I don't think anyone does it as good as Playground. We know what's happening with updates, even if they're working on bug fixes, at least we know it's coming. And then if there's a problem with it, we get told that there's a delay with it. We know everything which is happening with the game. They tell us about future updates in streams. Ghost haven't done one of those things I have just mentioned. And the shit thing about all of that is, this is the best game Ghost have ever released. So, you have the best game they've ever released, but the worst handling of the game they've ever released. And then with 2015, it was the opposite way around. And then with Payback, let's not even talk about that. And I think that goes with the game as well. Like, it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit towards the end. But the community management, the way the game's been dealt, the communication, not very good. We're going to move on to the second thing now. That's the lack of content. There is a huge lack of content in this game. And I want to before I get into this, I just want to quickly say I can completely understand if you haven't done all the flamingos, if you haven't done all of the spray cans, if you haven't done all the speed traps and drift traps, etc., etc., how you wouldn't be bored of this game. For everyone else who beat that within a day and a half, which I did, if you play games just to kind of complete things and get all the cars and all that kind of stuff, you would have been done by now. Especially if you bought the game on launch. I'll be very surprised if anyone here who has the game on launch and that hasn't finished it by now and done all the stuff they want to do, be very surprised about that. There's a huge lack of content in this game, and that's where it kind of leads me to what have they actually been doing for 2 years? The game at its core still has clipping issues, the netcode is still terrible, the drift physics are arguably worse. Now I understand the race physics are great, but that's one team. The map is the greatest that has been in a Need for Speed game in my opinion in a very long time, if ever. But we still clip through the ceiling. Rhinos will just randomly be inactive during pursuits. There's no kind of synergy with the damage system in this game. It's just very random. Not to mention that, you know, leaderboards are broken and they're like, they weren't even there on launch. Along with PvP, etc, etc. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. I don't want this to be too negative, but these are all existing problems. If you want to ignore those problems and pretend like the game's perfect, then that's fine by me, but I'm just saying it how it is. I honestly, it's a lot better than Payback, and it's a lot better than 2015, but that's not a hard thing to do. Those games were trash as well. You know, it's not a hard thing to be the best Need for Speed game in the past 10 years, because Hot Pursuit 2010 was the last good one, and that was 10 years ago. For me, the level of polish isn't much better than Payback in this game. And I don't think it's even much better than 2015. It doesn't feel like this game is any much more polished than the other two games. It just feels like the physics are a lot better and it plays a lot better, which it 100% does. I want to quickly say that I enjoy the way the game plays. I enjoy the physics. I enjoy this. I think the story's better. I don't think it's good. I don't even think it's good by Need for Speed standards, but I do think it's better. But it just makes me really confused to what to think where the kind of development time's gone in the past 2 years, where the actual time has been spent, why cars like the P1 GTR and the FXXK have been added when this isn't a hypercar game. It's a game made about customization and street racing. I can't be the only one that feels that way. Like, I can't be the only person that feels like, why are you adding a P1 GTR when we've been screaming for an RX-8, you know, an Eclipse, an old S-Class? Like, those types of cars are always the ones I go to because they're the first ones on my mind, but you understand what I mean. All these existing problems that we had in 2015 in Payback, we've been talking about this for a while. This isn't the first time I've mentioned this. And I guess it's the first time I've ranted since launch about this, but like, these are all problems. And all this leads up to live service update 1, or just update 1. I don't know why I said it like that. Right then, why is it not here already is the first thing. It's December. At this point in Need for Speed 2015's life cycle, we'd already have 2 updates every 6 weeks with Need for Speed 2015. Fun fact. We got 1 update until the updates stopped completely, and Need for Speed 2015 was ahead of its time in terms of live service. Games weren't really doing it in 2015. Like that game was ahead of its time for live content updates, and we got 1 every 6 weeks. So that was 6 weeks from launch to the end of live service, which I believe was around March or April, just off the top of my head. I might be wrong on that. Even with Payback at this point, we'd already had an update. I don't know if it was the Speed Cross one, but I know we definitely had some form of update in December for Need for Speed Payback. Lead us up to Need for Speed Heat. We have no roadmap, no direction. The game is just kind of where it's at. We got 1 update where they added in the hero car, but I don't really count that as a content update in the slightest. They just added a car which should have been there at launch. And I know a lot of people will be thinking I'm moaning, I'm being harsh, but I'm honestly just speaking my opinion. I still like this game. I'm still going to play this game. It's what I'm like. I like Need for Speed. But I'm not going to sit here and candy code the issues when Ghost, I hope they are watching this because they need to hear it. That first update, not only does it need to be in January, like it needs to be in January, it needs to be fat. If PvP doesn't come, oh my god. People are going to fucking lose their minds. And if they just add PvP and it's the same as Payback, oh my god. People are gonna lose their shit. Me included, I will be livid. And if it's paid, oi bro, if it's paid, don't even fuck around, bro. If you do, if we come through in January and it's 2 paid cars like Payback, I think I actually will cry. It needs to be a free content update, and it needs to be a fat content update, because the game's missing content. So they need to actually hit the nail on the head with that first content update, and it needs to be as soon as they're back in the fucking office. Because the game, it is on, I can see why people are losing interest. I don't play this game on my own time. And that's saying a lot, because in 2015 I did, even in Payback at this point I did. But with Heat, I've ran out of things to do. I mod the game for fun now, and I make videos for fun now. That is my source of fun out of this game, is doing the Gary lap times and doing high stakes. That is kind of what I do for fun in this game now. And I want there to actually be things to do in the game so I can cover stuff in game and, you know, not kind of be left to my own devices to make up fun for myself. Need for Speed isn't a sandbox. Forza is a sandbox, so Forza can get away with that. Need for Speed isn't a sandbox. Therefore, there needs to be stuff to do before you get bored. So to round this up, before I rant for another 20 minutes, because I honestly could. The current state of Need for Speed. Update 1 couldn't come sooner. The communication between Ghost and the player base has been absolutely tragic, but I haven't given up hope. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to pray that, you know, the first content update is fat and mega, and that I'm not fucking gullible for hoping that this game gets better, and, you know, hoping that there's a direction and there's a glimmer of hope. I hope I'm not an idiot for thinking that, like I did in Payback. Like I gave Payback, you know, the benefit of the doubt until March, and I don't want it to be the same thing again. I don't want to be stupid. I've already been burned like twice already, and I don't want it to be the same thing. I just want this to be a game that can be enjoyed by the community forever and ever and ever, me included. And it makes my life a whole lot easier, because the better the game is, the more people are watching it on YouTube, and that's just going to make my life a whole lot easier. So, yeah, that's my current state on Need for Speed. Let me know. I'm going to leave a card. Oh, it's up there, isn't it? It's right there. Are you bored of Need for Speed Payback? Payback? Got him! That's a nice way to break the tension. Are you bored of Need for Speed Heat, is what I meant to say. Let me know down in the comment section down below, as well as in that poll. I want to see what the majority is. I'm going to leave yes, no, and me, I'm getting there. If it wasn't for YouTube and me making videos, oh, I'd 100% be bored. But anyway, that's been it for me today. Stay safe. I'll see you guys. Bye.